You are standing in your kitchen at 2 in the morning when you see it. A cockroach, the size of your thumbnail, moving across the baseboard in the pale light from the stove. You grab a shoe, you swing. It scatters under the refrigerator in a blur. And now you know, you are not alone in your home. Your mind goes to the same place it always does. The spray bottles, the monthly service, the toxic fog the pest control man pumps through your cabinets while you and your family wait outside, masks over your faces, praying it works this time. You might spend $60 to $150 for a single visit, 2 or 3 times a year. That is $900 a year, maybe more, and the roaches always come back. But here is the part most people never learn. In old farmhouses and Amish communities where cockroaches were a constant problem decades ago, when there was no pest control industry and no toxic spray to depend on, families developed a method so simple, so practical, that once you understand it, you will wonder why every household does not already know it. It involves something you probably have in your kitchen right now: aluminum foil, and some other materials so ordinary that you might already own every single thing you need. This is not a magic cure for every cockroach problem, but for small infestations, for monitoring, for prevention, and for catching early signs before roaches establish themselves, this old method works. And the cost is so low that you can set up a complete barrier system for less than the price of a single pest control visit. Let me show you exactly how this works, why the roaches respond to it the way they do, and the most common mistakes that ruin the method before people even give it a fair test. In many Amish farm communities, the kitchen was the heart of the home. It was where food was stored, where meals were made, where the family gathered in the winter. Cockroaches were attracted to that warmth, that smell of food, that promise of shelter. But the Amish did not have access to modern pesticides, so they learned to observe the roach. They learned where it came from. They learned what it feared. And they learned, through patient repetition, that the roach has a very specific weakness. A cockroach is not attracted to the kitchen out of courage. It is attracted out of hunger and the search for hiding places. But it is also cautious. It moves along edges. It uses surfaces. It avoids open, exposed places where it feels vulnerable. An old farmhouse pantry, with shelves built into the walls, was perfect habitat for a roach. Dark corners, cracks, access to food above. And the old farm families noticed something. When they made it harder for the roach to hide, when they cut off its confidence, the roach would change its behavior. Aluminum foil works for one specific reason. It is reflective. It reflects light. It creates a surface that feels unstable and exposed to an insect whose entire survival strategy is built on moving through darkness and shadow. A roach pressed against a shiny, reflective surface feels as if it is in the open. It panics. It turns around. It seeks another route. The roach is not afraid of the foil itself. It is afraid of being exposed. But the foil alone is not enough. What the old method does is combine the reflective barrier with something else. It creates a confined space where the roach must make a choice: enter the danger zone to reach food, or retreat to another path. And while the roach is considering that choice, the second part of the method catches it. In Lancaster County and Holmes County, where Amish farming communities have lived for generations, the old farm women understood another principle. They understood what attracts cockroaches to a specific place. It is not complicated. It is water, shelter, and food. The roach can survive without food for weeks, but it cannot survive without water. And this is the part most modern pest control tutorials leave out. If you remove the water source, if you make shelter uncertain, the roach will leave. It will go somewhere else. The movement patterns of cockroaches are predictable once you understand this one principle. What the old method does is use aluminum foil to create a barrier, combined with a simple trapping system that controls the roach before it ever settles into your home. And here is the surprising part. The foil is not expensive. The trap is not complicated. The materials cost less than $5 total. The first thing you have to understand is that most modern pest control treats the symptom, not the source. A spray kills the roach you see. but it does not address why the roach came in the first place. The roach came because there is a path of attraction. It came because somewhere in your kitchen there is water or food or darkness that invited it. An old farm household understood this. So the method is designed around interrupting the path. You are not trying to kill every roach. You are making the environment so uninviting that the roach stops coming. Here is how to set up the method correctly. You will need aluminum foil, the heavy-duty kind if you can get it. You will need 5-gallon buckets or large containers. You will need some boric acid powder, which you can buy at any hardware or garden store for just a few dollars. You will need water. You will need old newspapers or cardboard, and you will need small pieces of food scraps as bait, like breadcrumbs or bits of dried fruit. That is everything. No expensive equipment, no contracts, no poison fog. The method uses 2 parts. Part 1 is the barrier. Part 2 is the trap. For the barrier, you are going to place aluminum foil around the base of your kitchen cabinets, where roaches typically enter. The foil goes on the outside of the cabinet legs, folded tightly so that it reflects light and creates an unstable surface. The roach will see the reflection and feel exposed. It will avoid crossing that barrier when it has other options. This alone will reduce traffic significantly. Use the heavy-duty foil. Crinkled, cheap foil tears too easily, and the barrier becomes ineffective. But the barrier is only part of the defense. The second part is the trap, and this is where the method becomes surprisingly effective. You are going to place a 5-gallon bucket in the corner where roaches are most active. You have probably already noticed where this is. It might be under the sink. It might be near the pantry. It might be behind the refrigerator. Place the bucket there, but do not put it directly on the floor. Put it on newspaper or cardboard. The paper creates a noise barrier. If a roach lands on paper instead of a hard surface, it moves more slowly. It stays longer. Inside the bucket, you place a small amount of boric acid powder, just a light dusting on the bottom, about 1/4 of an inch thick. Then you place a piece of food nearby, just outside the bucket, as bait. Breadcrumbs work, a small piece of fruit works, even dried pet food works. The roach smells the food, approaches it, and moves toward the bucket. And here is the key. The moment the roach touches the boric acid powder, it sticks to its legs and feet. The roach is not poisoned immediately, but it grooms itself. It cleans its legs. And when it ingests the powder, it affects the roach's ability to process water. The roach becomes dehydrated and dies within hours or a day. Not instantly, but reliably. Now here is the most important part. The boric acid is not harmful at the doses used in this method, but it must be treated carefully. Do not put it anywhere a child or pet can reach. If you have young children, this method is not safe for you. Call a professional instead. If you have pets that might eat roach bait, do not use this method in those areas. Used carelessly, even a simple thing can cause harm. The aluminum foil barrier works because it forces the roach to make a choice. It can take the long route to food, going around obstacles and through unfamiliar territory. Or it can take the familiar path and cross the reflective foil. Most roaches choose the long route. They are not brave, they are efficient. If the efficient path feels wrong, they abandon it. The bucket trap is more effective than people expect because it combines 3 elements. The bait draws the roach in. The noise-dampening paper keeps it in place longer, and the boric acid does the work. But it works slowly enough that the roach has time to return to its colony and share the poison. Other roaches ingest it secondhand. The control spreads. This is not magic. It is just knowing how the thing works. Here is where most people fail. They use aluminum foil alone, expecting it to solve the problem. But the foil is only a deterrent, not a solution. You need both parts. The barrier slows the roach. The trap catches it. Together, they work. Another common mistake is using regular boric acid. Make sure you have the powder version, not the liquid. The powder adheres to the roach's legs. The liquid does not work the same way. Some people also skip the newspaper under the bucket, but the paper is important. It creates vibration and sound that keeps the roach inside the trap longer. Without it, roaches may jump out before they have contact with the powder. The third mistake is placing the bait inside the bucket. Always place the bait outside the bucket, just in front of it. The roach should enter the bucket to investigate the nearby bait, not to eat food that is already inside. This keeps it on the powder longer. The fourth mistake is using too much boric acid. A 1/4-inch layer is enough. More than that and you waste material and create an area that feels suspicious to the roach. Less than that and the roach may not get a sufficient dose. Now where can you use this method in a modern home? If you have a small roach problem in the kitchen, set up the barrier around the cabinet bases and the trap in the corner. You should see a reduction in activity within 3 to 5 days. In the bathroom, roaches are attracted to the moisture under the sink. Use aluminum foil around the drain pipes and place a bucket trap nearby. In the laundry room, roaches cluster around the humid corner where water collects. The same method works there. In older homes with basement access, place a barrier at the entry point where pipes and wiring come through the wall. Use the foil to make that crossing feel exposed and uncertain. Before you use this method, check your house for actual entry points. Use a flashlight and look under sinks, around baseboards, and behind appliances. This is where roaches enter. Block the obvious gaps with foil. Caulk larger gaps permanently if you can. The foil is a deterrent, not a seal. Here is something that might surprise you. In many homes, roaches are not coming from outside. They are moving from apartment to apartment through shared walls, or they arrived in a box of groceries or used furniture. If you live in an apartment building, your neighbors might have roaches. This method will not solve that completely, but it will keep roaches from establishing a population in your space. Think of it as a barrier against invasion, not a wall against siege. This is where the method becomes useful for people who do not live on a farm. You do not need a farm or a garden to use this. You need a kitchen. You need a bathroom. You need a willingness to pay attention. The aluminum foil barrier combined with the bucket trap works in about 70% of small infestations. It works less well in severe infestations where roaches have already established in the walls or in inaccessible areas. For those situations, you should call a professional. But for early detection, for prevention, for stopping a problem before it becomes severe, this old method is reliable. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you start seeing roaches in your kitchen every few weeks. Not a flood, not an infestation, but enough that you know something is wrong. You set up the aluminum foil barriers around your cabinets. You place a bucket trap in the corner where roaches are most active. You add a light dusting of boric acid to the bucket. You place a small piece of breadcrumb outside the bucket as bait. And you wait. Over the course of a week, the trap catches 3 roaches. This is a good sign. It means the method is working. The barrier is funneling the roaches toward the trap. A few days later, you catch 1 more. Then nothing for 2 weeks. The population has stopped establishing itself. The aluminum foil did its job. The bucket trap did its job. And you did not spend $800 a year on a service. You spent $5 on materials. Now, let me tell you why you probably never heard about this method. Ask yourself a simple question. If this method is so cheap, so old, and so practical, why do so few people know about it? The answer is simple: economics. There is no profit in teaching people to use aluminum foil and a bucket. There is no recurring revenue. There is no service contract. A bottle of roach spray costs $8 to $12, and you buy it again every few months. A pest control service costs $100 per visit, and you call them repeatedly. An aluminum foil barrier costs nothing because you already have it. A bucket trap costs $5 and lasts all season. The companies that profit from pest control do not advertise the old methods. They advertise the complicated, expensive, branded solutions. They convince you that you need their product, their service, their expertise. And yes, for severe infestations, you probably do. But for the early stages, for prevention, for households that want to stay ahead of the problem, the old method works just as well. And nobody is making money off it. so nobody is talking about it. The knowledge did not disappear because it failed. It disappeared because it could not be sold. This is the lesson hidden in old farm wisdom. The past was not always better. Some old ways disappeared for good reasons. But some disappeared because they were too simple to sell. When you find one of those methods, sitting quietly in an Amish farmhouse kitchen, in a barn tool shed, in the corner of an old pantry, or in the memory of someone who learned it decades ago, you are rediscovering something valuable. Not because it is old, but because it works. The method is not flashy. It is not fast. It does not kill every roach instantly. But it is effective. It is practical. And it gives you control over your own space without depending on a service or a company or a toxic chemical fog. Here is what I want you to remember. Roaches are not invincible. They are not intelligent. They are predictable. They follow patterns. They need water and food and darkness. If you interrupt those patterns, if you make the easy path uncomfortable and create a trap where the roach must go, the roach will stop coming. The aluminum foil forces that choice. The bucket trap makes the choice fatal. The old farm households understood this. They did not have modern tools, so they had to understand the creature they were dealing with. They watched it. They learned its behavior. They built defenses based on that knowledge. And the method they developed still works, more than a century later, because it works with the roach's nature, not against it. In the next video, I will show you another forgotten household method that most modern homeowners have never been taught, even though it may already be sitting somewhere inside your own home, waiting to solve a problem that you have been paying to fix for years.